So anyways, I want to go back and redo what we talked about last week because I think it was interesting, and I want to make sure that we get some post out about it. We talked about professionalism and sportsmanship and that kind of stuff last week, and I want to talk about it again because I think it's a good topic. And the reason it started was because Coach Mac and I were talking about wearing hats. Like, this is what started it, and I want to have him on the podcast and I'm going to hit him with that question as the first one. It's like, what do you got against hats to talk about it? So that started our conversation last week. I want to talk about it again because for me, when you talk about the idea of being professional or professionalism, I don't feel like it's a look. I feel like it's more of a behavior. You're behaving professionally or you're not, even though how somebody looks can give you clues. I don't think that's necessarily the marker. So for you, I want to start again on your perspective on, first of all, the hat thing, and then we'll broaden it out to more just like professionalism in general, what you wear and how you present yourself and that kind of stuff.
You're talking hats as a coach, is what you were saying.
Or a player, like because teams ban, they say no hats. Like Mac does that with his team. He says no hats, and I don't care if they wear hats for me. So yeah. Where are you on the hat spectrum? First thing, and then I want to broaden. I
don't give a rip. I don't care, but I know society does. That's how I do a lot of things, right? I don't care about that stuff, but I care that it's important to other people, I guess. So if on the onset, it's like, this is how I look. This is how I view stuff like that. If I get a tattoo, or if anyone gets a tattoo, I don't care if you have a tattoo, but you can't actually get upset or pissy if someone judges you for having a tattoo, because that's life. You can't, if you're a guy that wears an earring and a tattoo or whatever, or you have really long hair, whatever that's outside of the norm, then you can't be pissy with people for like maybe questioning your decision making. So when it comes to hockey, if we're looking at coaches and your coach has an earring and a tattoo on his neck, right? Like a Conor McGregor tattoo or something on the bench, and a hat, like you said, a hat, and there's this whole thing, people are just automatically going to, right or wrong, are going to judge, right? Was he in jail before? Whatever the question is. If you have earrings and stuff, you're just automatically going to get judged. So it's not a matter of me of what I feel my opinion is. It's a matter of, in society, in certain roles, you're supposed to look, and whether that's right or wrong, a certain way. So from now we go like a kid walking in to the hockey rink with a baseball hat on, I could care less. If they walk in with a suit as a kid, that makes no sense to me either, wearing all dressed up. A coach behind the bench, I think it's probably depends on what you're trying to project. If you're at a AAA hockey tournament and you're a coach, I don't think you need to wear a suit. And I don't think you need to look like an absolute slob. It's just something like you're representing something. So I think you tighten up whatever you can, where you can. And I mean, it's a personal opinion, but I think the thing to me is that if it's something that can be pointed out, then it's probably an issue, a little bit of an issue. That's what I think.
So I think that's, for me, I draw the line at the attention seeking. So if you're wearing something that is obviously bringing attention to yourself, like whatever crazy suit or some kind of crazy hat or some kind of statement jewelry or accessory or whatever, then that's where I put the line, because now you're making it about you. And the problem with my opinion, if I'm countering myself, is that people will put the line in a different place, right? Because it's a very subjective thing. You can think one thing and I can think another. And I think part of Mac's argument is that if anyone is going to think anything negative, just remove it. Like, just remove the ability for anyone to think something negative about you. And if it's a hat, for me, I don't care. for other people, they do care. And one of his main points too is that a lot of higher level hockey people are still like old school. You know, they see you wearing a hat or they see you have a tattoo or an earring or a whatever. And though I think it's becoming more acceptable for people to wear what they want and be a little bit more showy about what they're doing or how they're presenting themselves, there's a lot of guys that are still old school. And it's like we talked about with the haircut thing. You know, you show up in your haircut's an absolute disaster. I right away look at you and I'm like, why is your hair like that? Because that's something that I judge personally. I choose to not judge the hat thing. It doesn't bother me, but I do judge the hair thing. So I think that's more the critical piece of his side of it, where he's like, if anyone's going to think anything of it, why not just make sure you're clean cut and neutral so that nobody thinks anything of it? Which I understand. For me, I draw the line at if you're trying to do things that are attention seeking. You wear a bright yellow suit to the game or you wear some crazy hat or whatever, like I said. That's where now it's about you and it feels like you're purposely drawing attention to yourself. And that's where I don't like it, because now you're trying to turn the spotlight onto yourself based on something that doesn't really matter. So I got into it with our players last year because I remember we went to go see Union College and was it Harvard? Union College versus Harvard Division I game, and these guys got on the bus dressed like bums, dude. They had sweatpants, graphic T-shirts. One kid was wearing a stupid hat, like it was like a puppy ear hat or something. And I'm like, guys, you look terrible. That doesn't mean you have to wear a suit, but just be presentable, you know? And I think there I agree with it, but I feel like for me personally, I give more play in the joints of what bothers me versus doesn't. If you want to wear a hat, I don't care. If you wear a hat that has a pot leaf on it, that's probably not great. You're inviting criticism or you're inviting a negative perspective. So I think that's important for kids to understand. And wherever you fall on the spectrum with that, doesn't matter to me. Like Mac looks at me on the bench sometimes. I have a hat on and he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, how could you be wearing a hat on the bench right now? Whereas I don't care. So as long as, for me, again, just my opinion, if you're presenting yourself cleaned up, even if you're wearing sweatpants or even if you're wearing whatever, as long as you're put together well, you look like you're cleaned up, then I don't particularly care what choices you make, as long as it's not something that is going to draw negative attention to yourself for whatever reason. That's kind of where I put my line. But I think it's important for kids to know, because whatever they decide to do, to your point, you have to know that people are going to judge whatever decision it is that you make and how you present yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so it goes a couple ways, right? Like, so if it comes from an organization down. So if you, and really this is where I would say it's important or it's not.